irrigation schemes project in Bataleja, Nebi, Oyam, Queen and Casey's, seeks to increase production and farmer incomes through improvements to and expansion of small-scale irrigation schemes. Irrigation schemes which were constructed have not been efficiently used to increase production and land productivity. The government of Uganda, through Ministry of Water and Environment, noted that there was limited technical support in irrigation agronomic practices, which affects production potential of the irrigation schemes. Therefore, there was a need to build capacity of farmers in agronomic practices during the implementation of irrigation schemes. WSS Services Limited, a private consulting company, was then contracted by Ministry of Water and Environment to carry out consultancy services to train farmers in irrigated agronomy, soil and land improvements for Doho and Mubuku irrigation schemes.
We want this contract to train farmers in agronomy and land management as well as aquaculture through the Ministry of Water and Environment and Ministry of Agriculture under the FIFOC 2 project. We won Doho 2 and Mubuku 2. When we came here in 2018, we trained them on agronomy and we chose to use the farmer field school methodology.
Doho irrigation scheme in Bataleja district, eastern Uganda, is estimated to cover an area of 1,178 hectares and ultimately benefits about 2,782,760 people. The scheme is located about 250 kilometers from Kampala. It takes its water from River Manafwa, which originates in the Mount Elgon. WSS went through the inception period to acquaint with project-specific activities and carry out preliminary studies of the agronomy, soils and extension work status. The following were the specific objectives of the inception report. During the WSS baseline study, the following practices were recommended for use by the farmers as key aspects that require training. Doho 2 rice irrigation scheme is found in Hamutu sub-county, Bataleja district. It covers 7 villages: Kangalaba, Waria, Nalasaga, Buabambwe, Wangala, Mazulula and Bugwe. A reconnaissance visit to Doho scheme Bataleja district was conducted between 14th to the 16th of March 2019. The purpose of the visit was to get acquainted with the project area, meet and interact with the local government leaders and other stakeholders to identify the major agricultural enterprises within the irrigated scheme area. Infrastructure development was going on, which included construction of roads, water canals, scheme offices and storage facilities. Challenges and gaps were identified within the scheme. Changes in water supply along River Manafwa, which feeds the scheme. The water flow was affected by climate variability, which caused extreme effects on rice production such as flash flood. The team discovered that farmers simply bought fertilizers and apply as they wish, and mistakenly think the Scotch plants had been affected by disease. WSS Limited had to come in with trainings to address these challenges. Farmers grow both local and some improved varieties, WITA 9, K5, K95 and K98. These are mostly supplied by different NGOs. Variety selection was a challenge because the majority of farmers used local ones. Poor quality seed production practices were used because basic agronomic principles were not followed. Seed bed preparation was usually by burning, which is not very environmentally friendly. Planting was done mainly by broadcasting rather than the recommended row planting. Manual hand weeding was being practiced since most couldn't afford herbicides or they lacked their application skills. No harmonized cropping calendar existed in the scheme, i.e. every farmer used to plant any time she felt like. It was reported that local rice varieties have lower yields compared to improved varieties. Farmers needed to be trained on the appropriate agronomic principles that can help them improve their crop yields. After the reconnaissance visit to Doho scheme, the team found that the fish farming was done within the scheme at a very small scale. With the potential of fish farming in the scheme, the farmers needed to be trained in the different areas where they lacked the knowledge and skills to carry out successful fish farming. NC Services WSS mandate was to train farmers in irrigated agronomy, soil and land improvement for the irrigation scheme of Mubuku and Doho Bataleja district. Agronomic training activities were carried out by farmers in Doho too, through Farmers Field Approach. The operation was a modification of prior work by FAO in West Africa to suit the local conditions and experiences in the sub-county. Season calendar to harvesting, processing and marketing states was followed step by step. 4 field schools were formed in 4 parishes, namely Kangalaba, Wanghel, Morula and Kapasar FFS. The farmers were taken through a paddy rice growing cycle, which of land preparation, nursery bed establishment, transplanting, fertilizer and manure application, weed, pest and disease control, bird scaring, water management, harvesting and threshing. Farmers noticed that new method of farming rice they have learned is much far better than their indigenous one which they have been using.
Okusooka nga tebanaba kuja endima yali mbi nga tetufuna nnyo nga omuceere nga tuguja bulungi kubanga twali tusimba mu ngeri etaliimu era nga tumala ensigo y'omuceere nga egenda nyingi era nga ng'olaba nti eka nga tebanaba kuja eka twateekangamu kilos 40 kati we baaja kati eka etwala kilo 24.
Twali tulima zigzaga naye nga tetufunamu kwegamba. WSS we yajja yatusomesa okulima omuceere mu layini era twagenda okwesanga nti omuceere gwe layini mulungi nnyo okusimba mu layini ate ofunamu okusinga ogwa zigzaga.
Kuva lwe yajja wano WSS okutusomesa enkola y'okulima omuceere katuli bakenkufu era n'abantu mukyala balimi bannaffe batwebuuzaako kubanga yagira wano nali simanyi nti omuceere gwe layini w'osimba mu layini ate gukola nnyo ne gutakukooya nnyo okusinga guno ogw'okusimba mu ngeri gy'oyagadde.
The FFS Field Day was organized. Each school publicized the lessons they learned. Farmers were taken on study tours, i.e. Kabimba Rice Scheme, Bugiri District and Busoga Farmers Resource Center in Basambachia Aganga District. Besides rice growing, some farmers were engaged in fish farming. Joseph, who is an expert in aquaculture, taught farmers on how to construct fish ponds and other management practices.
Under the fish farming aspect, we have managed to train the farmers on construction and the other best management practices of fish farming to include pond stocking, sourcing of young fish, pond liming, fertilization, feeding, among other aspects, including fish value addition, using smoking, the smoking technology, the smoking kiln.
Before training, farmers were inappropriately digging ponds. After training, they acquired skills to do it right.
Wilson Michael. I am a fish farmer from Doho village. Government found me when I had constructed ponds, but its intervention has had a big impact on our farm, on my farm. Number one, I had constructed the fish ponds with the straight banks, but after the training, I now know that the banks should be V-shaped. The straight banks, soil erosion affects them very easily, but the V-shaped banks do not get spoiled easily. They have trained us how to measure water level so that you can get the right quantity of water in the ponds. Government has also trained us to know the importance of liming ponds and fertilizing ponds. When you lime the ponds, you kill most of the germs in the ponds, so that by the time you introduce the fingerlings, the ponds are safe for the fingerlings to grow. The fertilizing ensures that the water is fertile so that many organisms which the fish feed on actually can grow in the water.